Well, hello, and welcome to the Legacy Insights podcast. And I am your host, Moving Money Mike. And welcome to episode 14, The Dramatic Need. Gen Xers are in the financial crossfire. Listen, today's show is going to be awesome today because we're going to be dropping it like no other, right? We're going to be addressing some real life moment to moment situation. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm your host, Moving Money Mike, and this is episode 14. And we're here to discuss entrepreneurship and financial strategies to guide you to your goals and dreams. Simply put, we provide insight to get your mind and your money right. Okay, we're going to be covering topics, tips, tricks, um, interviews from with entrepreneurs of successful rising. We're going to be talking about current events and how those current events affect you or may not even affect you, right? Um, I want you to consider a few things throughout this. I want you to keep an open mind, right? I really want you to focus in on like where you're at and how this information can really be of value to you, right? Because the information is valuable, but it needs to be valuable to you in this application. Now, see, and I was talking about this today, right? We need to know what a legacy is and how to build one, right? What is insight versus sight when it comes to a legacy? I was speaking with a few individuals today talking about the need for financial literacy. And see, financial literacy and financial intelligence, two different things, right? So, what is financial literacy? Well, financial literacy is basically the knowing about the industry, the tools, and the strategies that are available to you to use, right? And everybody has that access. What most people do not have is the latter, the financial intelligence, how to take those tools, strategies, and plans and contracts, and how to apply them to themselves and their personal situations. That's what the financial this show is about. The financial knowledge about this show is about in the Legacy Insights podcast. How to apply the financial intelligence to your life, right? So you can get to your goals and dreams. So my goal is to help you in assist you in becoming a better informed individual, entrepreneur, and become financially free. So it's time to let's get smarter. Today's episode, the dramatic need. Well, now I'm talking to all of you out there that are in the Gen Xers, right? So we're in anyone between the ages of 30 and 65, right? So that's a big demographic, right? That's a wide area. But check it out. It applies because if you got a family and you got children, you got parents, this is the show for you right now. So let's talk about it. There are 65 million Gen Xers caught in financial storm, supporting both their children and their parents while trying to secure their own financial future, right? So, what is it? To explain the sandwich generation, right? Because that's what we are, right? That's what I am, right? I'm that sandwich generation, right? I'm like borderline baby boomer and Gen Xer, right? Because I was born at the end of it, but I still have children and I had aging parents, that have passed away now, but I was there, right? So I'm talking to you from a place of familiarity and some experience personally and professionally, right? So that's what this show is about. Sharing shared values, shared experiences, what the takeaways and how they can be applied to you so that financial intelligence that I was just speaking about can work for you in your lives. So here we go, right? We're here to uncover some of these challenges and strategies to protect your legacy and in the midst of this financial storm. So, and it's really a squeeze. It's a financial squeeze, right? Because you got the kids coming home from college, the aging parents. Let's talk about it. Being caught in the middle. right? I got my trusty notes here, like I said, because this is a lot of information, man. And believe me, if I, there's so many ways to go with this. There's so much information when it comes to being, financially acute, right? So here we go, right? There are 72 million millennials, right? They got college debt. Um, they're underemployed. They're the rising rent and housing costs, right? We could do a show just on that because of the economics of it, right? This is the first generation in the history of this country where the children will not make more money than their parents. Now, do I need to say that again? But this is where we are as a state of a country. It's not. This is not a political show, and this is not a political statement. This is just the way the country is going. It's the way it's leaning, right? The advancements in technology, the advancements in medicine, the advancement in just the AI alone is going to cost a lot of people some financial pain. So let's keep going. There are 78 million baby boomers living longer due to medical advances, outliving their retirement savings. We're going to touch on some numbers here in a quite bit in the rising healthcare costs. So, what are we really talking about here? We got children coming home from college, if they can even get there because of the high cost of education. You're talking about a minimum of $100,000 per child in education by the time they get to college and by the time they graduate college. And if you're going to an Ivy League school, man, now let's just get over to the baby boomers, the ones who are not in good health, and the Gen Xers are helping their parents to survive, right? Because of the advances in medicine and just we living longer. I mean, the average age, say 100 years ago, was 35 years old. We're twice that now, right? The average age of an American citizen 100 years ago, 150 years ago, was 35, 37 years old. Come on now, right? Because of the advancement in medicine, right? Here we are. So let's talk about it. There's the rising healthcare costs, right? So what does the rising healthcare costs look like? Well, depending on what state you live in, depending on the assets that you may have had or your parents may have had to help lower some of that, the assistance that you may get from family members, they're all parts of that rising healthcare costs, right? For the aging baby boomers, right? So Gen Xers are feeling stretched thin, burnt out, and feeling really hopeless, right? They're financially drained, right? So I know for my personal experience, thank goodness, like I shared in the earlier episodes, I'm a 60s baby. So that makes my parents like the 40s, right? They came up with little to nothing, here. It's just what it was, right? Not a lot of financial education, but as time came along, my dad came home from the military and got a job and was able to put some things away and got us into a household, right? But what it really boiled down to was how well off we were. How well off were we, right? Were we still a paycheck away from financial ruin, right? Because I know at the end of their days, they didn't have a whole lot of money to where I could put them in long-term care, right? They stayed at home. They stayed home. I had to move in, right? And help them with the bills, right? Help them with the bills. My mother couldn't work. I told you she was pretty much a home wife, homemaker, right? She was a seamstress, So she didn't have a 401k, right? She didn't have a retirement plan. Thank goodness she had enough sense to buy some life insurance for all of us. Some of those low cost policies, right? Excuse me. So thank goodness she had you know sense, peace of mind to do those basic foundational things for us in the family, right? So but like even my dad, even at toward the end, didn't have burial insurance. Thank God he was in the military because they gave him a military funeral. But that's how many millions of people just who have that or less, right? Unfortunately, a week or two ago, there was a young man, 12 years old, died from an asthma attack that I know. They had to do a GoFundMe because they weren't prepared, right? Who's prepared to bury a child? I know I wasn't. We weren't when we had to bury our son, right? But those are the types of financial challenges we have. But when we have aging parents, they got to go to the doctor. They need medication. They need, like I said, I was driving back and forth to the doctor all the time. How many people out there could identify with that, right? Being home, with their parents, taking care of their parents because they did the right thing by you when we were young, right? They raised us. So to continue, these are the types of stories and the types of situations that we talk about here that are really, really necessary. So I'm going to continue with like some key statistics when it comes to just the United States as a whole. And these kids coming home from college, the unemployment rate, right, by the BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, for August of 2025 is 4.3%. Okay, that's the unemployment rate. Now, I try to stay away from dates and times, but we're talking economics here, right? Because in a few years, this show will have some old data in it, right? But today, August 2025, the unemployment rate is at 4.3%, right? So how many people are being affected by that? The cost of caregiving by AARP, the estimated $7,242 annually. Okay, so now that's on top of your already costs as a Gen Xer, right? So now whatever cost that you may have raising your family, um, taking care of the kid, your household, the kids have went off to college, right? You're paying for that. You're paying for the medication. Now you're talking about caregiving for your elderly parents if they're really sick, right? It's an additional $7,200 annually, and that's about that's 26% average of your income. So can you afford to put out a 26% of your annual income on average toward just your aging parents caregiving? That's what we're talking about here, right? That's what we're talking about in this show is economics in the landscape in which we're living, right? This show is trying to bring you the reality and wake us up to the fact that no one's coming to save us and that we need to do the financial planning now. We need to have that financial intelligence and apply it, right? Just not be literate, but intelligence to apply these nuggets. So, retirement shortfalls. 2/3 of Americans say they are in a retirement shortfall. That's 60%, 66%. The average retiree, the average retiree has $15,393 in non-mortgage debt. So now you got a mortgage. I don't know what part of the country you may be in listening to this, but if you got a mortgage, 250,000 to 400,000, $500,000 mortgage, right? You're probably a couple of years in on it. You're older, you're more responsible, you're paying your mortgage. So maybe you might have half of that left. you taking out some home equity lines of credit, and you're looking to so to sustain yourself. And so you take out, an equity line of credit on that house, and now you've got more debt on the home, right? So $15,393 in non-mortgage debt, plus whatever else you're taking out on your house. And about 40% of Americans worry they will outlive their retirement savings. No, these are real life statistics. These are real life statistics. I need you to write this stuff down. I need you to do your own research. I need you to go look and see where you fall at in these numbers and what applies to you, right? So there's a triple squeeze going on here. They're supporting millennials. They're funding the elder care for their parents, and they're trying to save for their own retirement, right? Now, I was just going over some older figures, and I was saying, the average American, to keep their current lifestyle as it is today in retirement, because we're living longer, you needed about $1.7 million. Well, I was sitting in the living room the other day, and I heard some economic advisor say you need close to $5 million. And I'm like, wow, that I don't know where they living at, but I know I'm in New Jersey, right? That's a lot of money. And I don't think a lot of people have that kind of money laying around in their portfolios and or under their mattress. You hear what I'm saying? So we're talking here about some real life statistics and in some real situations that we are in as a country, as Americans, as families and individuals and business people. So let's keep this thing moving, right? So there's that emotional stress that's taking place for those Gen Xers who are in the sandwich situation. There's going to be a lot of missed opportunities. And how about the shrinking legacies? Right? Because if you're taking care of the kids, paying their college because they can't make the payment, because they can't get a job, right? The major that they majored in, they ain't paying no money. Okay. And your parents are getting sicker. They've been diagnosed with chronic and critical and possibly terminal illnesses, right? You don't want to see them suffer. Their health care is only paying so much. Medicaid, Medicare is only paying so much, right? And if they own anything, you got to give it away or sell it before they give you any more help, right? So you're trying to keep a quality of life here. So you really are, you're throwing your money out there and you're shrinking your own legacy, right? But there's ways to ease this, right? So I say this with a sense of urgency, right? There's dire situations out there, but there is hope. There is hope, right? But you have to be intentional about this, people. We have to be intentional about how we save, how we allocate our dollars, how we track our dollars. I've said it multiple times. Money's a tool. We need to have niceties over the necessities. And if we do not start thinking in that mindset, with that financial intelligence, we're in a world of trouble, right? So let's keep this going here. There's some current trends taking place, and the very concept of building a legacy here is really dire. So without financial planning, future generations may face even greater struggles. That goes without being said, right? We're burning through our wealth, and we're not building systems of security, right? So everything that really works in life has a system, right? And that's what I'm trying to lay out here for you. I'm trying to put the big picture together. I'm trying to tell you what the situation is that you're facing based in fact, so that you see that, like, that's the literacy, the facts, the figures, where you're at. That's the literacy. I'm trying to give you the intelligence here, right? I'm trying to like really touch base with you here, right? There is hope. It is built in the legacy framework that can still help you. So let's keep going here. Let's keep going. There's some practical solutions, right, to this issue. Is these issues that we have here, right? So for the aging parents, there's some long-term care planning that you need to get started with right away. The previous episode, 12, I believe it was, 20 IUL secrets the bank did not want you to know. Go back to the YouTube page, see episode 12 and episode 13. They're both dealing with the long-term care planning and the retirement planning, right? So this, like I said, the show is building forward, right? It's building. The information is going to be here for you, right? So go to YouTube at Legacy Insights Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Scan that QR code there on the page. Make sure that you register. Take that financial literacy overview so that you can learn some things, you can confirm some things, right? Reaffirm some things, right? Get that information. Tap in with me, right? You'll be able to send me a message and say, "Hey, Mike, can you explain this some more? Can you give me some insight to get my mind and my money right?" That's what we're here for. That's what I'm trying to bring, the literacy and the financial intelligence to you all in one show. Here we go. So let's keep it moving, right? That's for the aging, the long-term care planning, and then knowing that insurance and asset protection is what your parents will need, and make sure that they have in place, right? Because see, when the Social Security come knocking, right? You can't move their assets to you to hide those assets. There's a 5 to 6 year look back on their ownership, right? So you need to do what you need to do now before they get into some trouble health wise, or right, and so that their assets are protected, right? Because Social Security is going to say, if you own a house, leverage it or sell it to pay for their health care, then we'll help you. You got money in the bank, you got to use it. But if they had index universal life policy with a long-term care rider in it, guess what? That would pay for their long-term care stays. That would pay for their insurance that will cover them so that they don't have to touch their assets that they've worked their entire life for. Right? I had a young man, I told you a few weeks back, come to see me. God bless his mom. She passed away, left him an annuity. And we're sitting down to talk, and I told him, I said, listen, this blessing is her blood, sweat, and tears. Don't let your parents' blood, sweat, and tears go to somebody else because of lack of financial planning. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. Let's keep it going. For millennials, teaching financial literacy. Hey, right? Teaching financial literacy and then helping them to apply financial intelligence, right, to the literacy will help them to get where they're going. And how about help to keep your legacy growing too, as being that sandwich individual, right? Helping your children, taking care of your parents. That's what responsible people do. All right. Helping without enabling and setting boundaries. So with those millennials, it's a hand up, not a handout, right? We've lost that in this country. A lot of our children are feeling entitled to $100 sneakers, $200 sneakers. Are you kidding me? They don't even take out the trash. They don't cut the grass. What has happened to our young people? They got crooks in their neck because they can't look up from their phone. You say, hey, they looking at my ear. Right? Come on. You got to get them off the couch. You got to get them earning and learning, right? You got to get them earning and learning. So let's keep it going, right? For Gen Xers themselves, right? This is the people in that sandwich category. You've got to prioritize your own retirement. I say to people all the time, I use the airplane analogy. When the stewardess, you've been on the plane, the stewardess comes around and she shows you how to use the seat belt and the air mask. They say in the event of cabin depressurization, when the mask drop, put your mask on first. Save yourself, then you can save the person next to you and around you and in your life, right? So you've got to prioritize your own retirement. Then you've got to explore investment and protection tools. Like I said, the IUL, annuities, and trusts, right? Um, I'm going to be diving into some trust information. Um, Again, I'd like to be all researched up, right? There's so much information jumping around in different products and in solutions and strategies. Yeah, hey, you can get kind of confused, right? But I want to make sure I bring you clear, concise information that you can apply directly today so that you can get your mind and your money right. Let's keep it going. So for Gen Xers, building a balanced plan is essential. So what does that mean? You got to have a budget in place, right? You got to know what's coming in, what's going out, and what's your overhead, right? They say if you don't understand what's going coming in, you don't know what's going out. Your overhead is your downfall, right? Come on. Let's get this thing to going, right? We're talking about financial intelligence now, right? So you got to have that budget in place. Go back to the episode uh, 4 or 5 for the legacy framework, the 6 pillars, right? That's the framework of building financial legacy. Okay, so as we right now, I got a call to action. Gen Xers stand at the center of America's greatest financial squeeze in history. You've got to act now. Your legacy depends on it. Your legacy depends on it, right? This is not some hokey pokey. I got tips and tricks for you that's going to turn you into instant millionaire. I've got practical, everyday money strategies, planning strategies that you can apply today so that you can get your mind and your money right. Right? There is no get rich quick schemes, right? Don't bet on that, right? It's called the time value of money. You need to put your money in interest bearing accounts over time. Let the power of compounding interest with a great APR, annual percentage rate, work for you in your favor. That's why you need to work with a financial specialist, professional like myself, my colleagues, or even the person that you may be dealing with. You need to ask them these questions. Hey, how is my money performing? And if it's not performing and showing you a good rate of return, go to michaellewisfinancialspecialist.com. Hit the email there, send me a message, set up an appointment, right? I can give you scenarios to go back to your financial professional and make sure that they're doing that, right? Me and my colleagues do everything with money in the money industry except for printed, right? So we know that's illegal. So we're not gonna go any further than that, right? So no matter where you are, right, me and my colleagues can help you to get your mind and your money right, no matter whether it's in fixed products, variable products, whether you're self-employed, employed, working with a corporation. We've got everybody in our firm that can help you, right? But that's not what this show we talk about. The firm, this show is to talk about the strategies that you can implement right away. So call to action. You need to subscribe to the podcast. You need to subscribe. You need to hit that like. You need to hit that QR code so that you could get that financial overview. Right? Just put in your name, your email, take the overview, learn some things, reaffirm some things, confirm some financial information that you could apply it, right? And then share this episode with other Gen Xers who could use it, other people between the age of 30 and 65, because this is where you're at, right? If you're not there yet, you're going to it, right? And if you're already there at the end, and you've got a 401k, you've got investment sitting somewhere that you don't know what to do with, reach out to me. I could provide you with some literature. I could provide you with guidance, right? Suggestions that you can go research, and then when you're ready, we can help you. That's what this show is about, right? I already said scan the QR code, go to YouTube at Legacy Insights Podcast and register. Take that financial quiz. Take it. Make sure that it's there for you, right? So this is the dramatic need that we are in as a country, as a people. This is where we are. As I said earlier, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save me, right? The economic landscape is a dire one. I've just laid out some strategies. I've just laid out some financial literacy and some financial intelligence for you so that you can apply it today. Start investigating. Ask your financial professionals if you're working with one, right? What does my insurance look like? Is it enough to cover me? Right? There's called a dime method, right? You should have enough insurance coverage to cover your debt, your income, your mortgage, and any expenses that you may have by 10 times. So, right. So if your income is 100,000, you need $1 million worth of coverage, right? That's going to help your loved ones to be okay for a good number of years. If you do not have that kind of income protection in place, again, go to the YouTube channel, hit the like and the subscribe, and put it in the comments. Put it in the comments, right? Dire need. And I will reach out to you, right? The dramatic need. I'm sorry. You put forgive me, the dramatic need. Put it in the comments. Dramatic need. And I'll reach out to you, because this is really what the state of the country is. It's becoming one of the countries with the haves and the have-nots. You do not want to be one of the have-nots. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be there, right? One of the things that I learned a while back about, it's a difference between being poor and broke. Broke means you don't have any financial money. Poor means you don't have the mentality and the emotional wherewithal to change your situation. Get out of the poor mindset. Get out of the poor mindset. Take some action, right? Potential means nothing unless it's that it comes with some action, right? So that brings us to the end of our show. And I just wanted to say to you, thank you very much for the privilege of your time. Thank you very much. This is Moving Money Mike, the Legacy Insights podcast. Make sure you go to the YouTube page at Legacy Insights Podcast, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the other side. See you in the next episode.